Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meetings for April 13, 2021. As of March 4th, 2020, the governor had declared pandemic, and we are still in the state of pandemic. So if you're not feeling well, please, you can always join us on the Zoom meeting, and also, stay 6 foot apart, like what we're doing right now. So we'll continue, having the same practice. I'm going to go through, basically you can, also email us as well. So any person wishing to address the Planning Commission on any matter listed on the agenda or on any other matter within their jurisdiction is asked to complete a speaker card that is provided on the podium and submitted the card to our Planning Department staff. Please identify on the speaker card and whether you are speaking on an agenda items or non-agenda item. Because to speak on a non-agenda items will be heard during oral communications before the public hearing section of the agenda. Oral communications are limited to 30 minutes. Generally, comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless further time is granted by the chairperson. Chairperson may also, at his or her discretion, further limit the time of each speaker in order to accommodate a large number of speakers and or to ensure that the businesses of the Planning Commission is effectively conducted. Any testimony or comments regarding a matter set for public hearing will be heard during the public hearing for that item. And we're going to take a moment of silence or meditation, and followed by Commissioner Nick Lewis will lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have roll call. So please join me. And please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paulina, roll call, please.
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Here.
Commissioner Lewis?
Here.
Commissioner Becerra? Chair Hing?
Here. Approval of minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes as of March 23rd, 2021? Hearing none, the minutes of March 23rd, 2021 are approved as submitted. Oral communications, would anyone like to speak to the commissioners on oral communication? I don't have a card. Do we have any Zoom guests or residents? Okay, if not, we're moving on to public hearing. Tonight we have 3 public hearings on the agenda. Joanne will present the first, staff public hearing.
For the first item, our planning intern Miriam Machado would be doing the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is conditional use permit 2102. It's for Fly Here Academy, a tutoring center. To give a little bit of background, the subject site is indicated by that red box. The applicant is filing for a conditional use permit to allow for the use of a tutoring center. The location is zoned as neighborhood commercial. It's located on the corner of South Azusa Avenue and East Aroma Drive, which is in the South Hills Shopping Center. The surrounding zoning uses are single-family and multifamily residential. The overall lot size is 393,366 square feet. This is just a picture of the existing site. It's on the second floor, right above Little Paws. This is their site plan. Again, it's indicated by the red box. Moving on to their proposed floor plan, Their main entrance is indicated by the red arrow. The green indicates their reception room. In blue is their classroom. In pink is their conference room. Purple is their break room. And in yellow is their restroom. Fly Here Academy intends to provide tutoring lessons and language training in English, Chinese, and Spanish. There will be a maximum of 3 employees at any given time, and there will also be a maximum of 16 students. Their business hours are Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Planning staff does recommend adopting Resolution 216073, approving conditional use permit 2102. This does conclude the presentation. I'm here for any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. So we're going to open this to public hearing. Then we're hearing testimony from the applicant. Those in favor, then those in opposed. Is the applicant here or? Okay, come on up.
Evening, this is Stephen, the applicant for the Fly Here Academic. The location is in the commercial plaza next to the Tokyo Central. It's a tutoring center. It's going to be one-by-one tutoring. That's the case.
Does any commissioners has questions for our applicant?
I just have one. Will you be planning on using a similar type sign as the one at your existing site that you're going to move to the new site that's on the second floor?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, does anyone else? If not, we're good? Yes, we're good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to call, anyone opposed? Thank you, Joanne. If, do we have any Zoom? No, we don't. Okay. If not, we're going to be closed public hearing. I guess there's no one has it against or what have you. So we open commission discussions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Will there be a
Second.
All right, we have a second. Paulina, roll call, please.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Becerra.
Aye.
Chair Hang.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
This section is final unless it appeals to the City Council within 10 days. Thank you. And we're moving on to the second item, which is a tentative track map. Mitigations, delegations of environmental impact. Applicant is TDK Marsh Investment, LLC. The location is 642 and 704 East Francisquito Avenue. The proposed project would subdivide 2 single-family residential parcels into a total of 6 lots. The project site is approximately 81,000 square foot and currently contains 2 one-story single-family residences and the associated structures on 2 separate lots. The new lots would be rectangular in shape. Lot 1 would be approximately 10,560 square feet. Lot 2 through 3 would be approximately 9,460 square feet each lot. 4 would be approximately 9,680 square foot, and lot 6 would be approximately 21,000 square feet. And Joanna, who will be presenting the report?
Our assistant planner, Camelia Martinez, will be presenting the staff report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is for item number 3, the subdivision of 2 properties into 6 separate lots. Some background, the applicant is TDK Marsh Investment, LLC. Both parcels, the addresses are 642 and 704 East Francisquito Avenue. They're both zoned R1 single-family residential, and together the square footage is 81,495 square feet, approximately 1.87 acres. Here in the aerial, you can see the red highlighted section, which is those two parcels in between Francisquito Avenue, South Frandale Avenue, and South Craig Drive. I do want to go back and just notate that above Francisquito, here, I know my mouse isn't very visible, but north of Francisquito is the city of La Puente, and south of that is the city of West Covina. So this is the aerial of the two lots. You have lot 1, which is 37,239 square feet. And then you have lot 2, which is 43,926 square feet. For the proposed subdivision, we have lot 1, which is 10,560 square feet. Lot 2, 9,460. Lot 3, the same. Lot 4, 9,680. Lot 5, 21,266 square feet. And lastly, Lot 6, 21,069 square feet. As a clarification for this project, this is only for the subdivision. There is no proposed development for new homes at this time. I received quite a few questions in the weeks leading up to this project in regards to driveways for the new properties. So I thought I'd highlight it. So the red arrows are going to indicate potentially where the new driveways are going to be. So for lots 2, 3, 5, and 6, they're only going to be off of the main streets that they're facing. But for lots 1 and 4, since they're corner lots, potentially a new driveway can come off either or, depending on how they want to design it in the future. Once again, these are the lots, but the main house on the first parcel and the new lot 6, the garage is sticking into the other parcels. So as part of a condition of approval, it will be demolished and the 2-car garage will be replaced as part of another, it will be proposed in another part of the lot once that does happen. The same for lot 5. They will have to demolish a section of that home to meet setbacks and not to intrude into lot 4. And if they want to expand the current house, they can. But since it's not a garage, it's not necessary to replace that structure. So this is just a table indicating all the lots and their new widths and depths. For Area District 2, the minimum lot size is 9,450 square feet. The minimum lot width is 70, and the minimum lot depth is 110. With the proposal for the new lots, all of them will meet that standard. An initial study and an M&D was prepared and circulated for public review. The M&D was prepared and disclosed that the project will not have a significant impact on the environment. It was routed between March 11th, 2021 through April 1st, 2021. The required mitigation measures are for the biological resources of the nesting birds and for noise. Mitigation monitoring program is an exhibit of attachment number 2 to the agenda and provides information on mitigation measures and monitoring by the responsible agencies. The city received 7 comments during the notice of availability and the notice of intent during the comment period. The response to those comments are provided in attachment number 3. And also you should also receive a couple of pages on top of that. Those were the original letters. They were not, as of the attachment, they were shown as blank pages that you might have noticed when the letters should have been there. So what you have is those original letters for those responses. And we received one comment after the comment period and was therefore not addressed in the response to comments, but was attached as attachment number 4 for the record. The staff recommendation is to adopt resolutions approving tentative track map 1801 with the number of 74976. Condition I in that resolution is actually not supposed to be there, so we are asking for it to be removed. It doesn't apply to this project. And then the second staff recommendation is to adopt the MMD of environmental impact. This concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant is also here, and the environmental consultants are also present to answer any questions as well.
Thank you. We're going to open to public hearing. So we're going to hear from the applicant, and then those in favor, and then those who oppose. Followed by closing the public hearing, and then we open for commission discussions, and then we'll make a motion. So is the applicant here? Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Kevin Lam. I'm the project manager at the location at 642 in 704 Francisquito. I'm glad I'm here today to answer any question from commission and anyone who will have question for this project.
I have one question. The easement that's shown on the one South Street, do you know what type of easement that 10-foot easement is?
The easement on the Brandale, right inside. So that was requested by planning, and we actually dedicate about 8 feet of our lot into for the widening of the street or whatever the purpose to when we're going to actually have the final map approved.
Oh, okay.
Just curious, with regard to the depth of the lots on the Francisquito side, just curious, why was it chosen to go with 110 feet as the depth as opposed to, say, the 130 feet that seems to be sort of the common depth on that street?
Oh, the requirement was for 110, and we try our best to accommodate that. And because the house, there are 2 existing houses in the back that taking the space. Otherwise, we would push it back to whatever your request. But right now, it's meet the requirement of 110.
Is the plan to keep those 2 homes?
At this point, our plan is to keep the 2 and still meet the requirement.
Okay. So you're gonna demolish the. Is there any way we can pull that up? Just because I'm trying to understand what are each of those rooms or is that for example the portion in lot 4, what is that as part of that home?
That part of the structure, the house structure, but we're planning to demolish that part of the structure to meet the setback requirement.
Right. What is that currently?
It's a living room.
It's a living room. Okay. So is there another portion of the home that is a living room?
Yes. The house is quite large. Actually, the house is about 2,700 square feet at this point. And when we if we cut that portion, the house is going to be around 18 to 2,000 square feet. That's what we're trying to develop with the other lot as well, like around 2,000 square feet.
Got it. And then as far as the as far as on lot 6,
Yeah.
what is that structure?
That is the part of the garage. So we just have to demolish that garage and move it to another location in that lot, within that lot.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just trying to conceptualize how that's going to look, because the house itself is oriented such that lot 1 and lot 2 are basically the front yard for it. So how is that going to work for the house on lot 6? It seems it's just going to just be, I guess, sort of abutting a fence or whatever dividing line that you have there.
Yes, that will be a fence across from lot number 1 through lot number 2, and then that will be the side, and then we'll be opening at the lower end of that house. We're gonna open a new entry door, the main door, and then there will be a driveway from I think it's Ferndale, go into that lot. So will be a new driveway going to that lot, and then that garage will be moved into the lower section of lot 6. So where will be a new garage. So the driveway will lead into that garage, and then the other portion that show on the right-hand side, that will be the main entrance. So actually, it will not affect the orientation of that property.
So what? And I think this is a question for staff. So what would the setback be on that side after the proposed subdivision for lot 6?
Through the chair, it would be a 5-foot side yard, because it would be their side yard now, so it'd be a 5-foot side yard setback.
Got it. And then so lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. The plan is to put some sort of single-family residence on there at some point.
That's correct.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I understand that today we're supposed to vote on to divide them. Now, would it be too hard for you to actually get the Planning Commission drawings of how the houses in lot 5 and 6 are going to look like?
No, that wouldn't be a problem, because we already presented to the planning before.
Okay.
And it's actually, it can be done, yes.
Okay.
Chair,
great,
Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Since it's going to be visible from the street, any changes to these homes would require subcommittee design review.
But currently, none of the plans for lot 1 through 6 has been submitted for subcommittee. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have submitted plans for new 2-story homes, but since then those plans have now changed, and they note that this application has been submitted to us since, I believe, 2017. So it's just been going back and forth with the designer, trying to comply with code, and eventually, if they do sell the lots, or they do construct homes on the property, if it's a single-story house, it's going to require subcommittee design review. And if it's a 2-story house, at the very least, it's going to require an administrative use permit application.
Okay. As currently, right now, none of our planning commission has any type of plans regarding to the subdivisions for homes, actual home that is going to develop there. And also, regarding the changes to those two existing homes, we have not, I mean, basically, if you chop it up and the house is missing certain parts, and we're not seeing how you're going to patch it back up together. We heard you, but at this moment, I assume that we have not seen any plan that is put together to see how it's going to be consolidated, or the end result, basically. Now that you're chopping little sections, you're changing the front of the house. And where is the front of the house right now, besides the fact that you're saying it's going to be on both sides of the streets? So that's something that in the garages, the makeup of the garages and what have you, because obviously the lot number 6 garages is right now, I don't even know if you can have access to that garage. So what's that going to turn to, and where are you going to put the garage? These are things that I guess we're not aware of, or how it's going to patch back together.
Yeah, and I think, and just to add to that, I think it's great that you're obviously investing the time and effort you are to develop more land and property in our city, and that's remarkable. But I think it's important that the Planning Commission also sees, because on behalf of the residents, that we see how those homes are going to look before. I know for me, but the idea will be for me to see how those homes are going to look like if I was to support or oppose a project like this. I think it's important that we see the whole picture for those 2 homes at least. Because, like Chair Heng said, we're chopping up the house, but we're not really seeing where the driveway, where certain things are going to end up at. So,
Chair, if I may. So it is one of the conditions of approval that they have to demolish and rebuild before the recording of the final map. So that will come through the Planning Commission, those plans for how they're going to reconfigure the buildings.
Thank you. But traditionally, though, when the subdivision that comes into the Planning Commission, we do get to see a picture of what is before. Now, this is the before portion. And then we also get to see what is afterward, besides the line that you just draw, a picture of what you're planning to put up there. I mean, you have a big lot. It's a big lot that, in terms of code and compliance, it's possible that you might be able to subdivide. However, we like to be able to also see how that fit into the community in that area that's traditionally been a huge lot. Now that you're subdividing it, it's nice to see what the end result would be like. Thank you.
I have one more question with regard to lot 5. The proposed, I guess, new front yard, which would be on Frandale, what would be the setback between the front yard and the street there? What's the distance?
Through the chair, the required front yard setback would be 25 feet. I don't know the exact distance of the existing home.
Okay. And do we know for lot 6 what that is?
It would be the same required minimum setback of 20.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No. I'm just saying what it currently is. The current structure on there. What is the setback? Because if we approve this, my concern is we would be approving basically non-conforming, just sort of by default. And so that's my question.
Lot 5 seems to look like right now it's a side setback. And with the side setback, it's only required 5 feet. And it appears like, we're guessing right now because we don't have dimension. So I think there's solar panel on that section of the line. If you look at the pink building and a little bit off, there might be solar panel. And then there's a little green tree line or bush. So I guess the distance between those, code is required 25 feet. What is it right now? Like, we can't tell from here.
May I answer? Okay, for lot number 5 and lot number 6, the side setback on that is not meet the requirement at this point. So we are going to provide the necessary design to meet the setback. So that was one of the condition planning was asking for is like before the final approval or for final map recording, we're going to show them the new design of the existing house. So this will meet all the setback and meet the frontage and all the things that's going to be set into those lots. So that is one of the requirements that we need to provide to planning before we get the final, approval or recording, whatever. So that was one of the things. And I just want to, usually we like to design the house for the new lot, but I have a bad experience with the city of West Covina. About 10 years ago, before the market crash, we proposed a 6 or 7 lots in Orange, and the place is a really big lot. And then we spent time and years, like 3 to 5 years, propose everything, put in the new house and everything. And then the planning or, people come and oppose the project. And it was like, we didn't get approved. So we spent like 5 years putting all the money, design on the new house, and then finally didn't approve. But then, after the fighting and everything, for a couple more years, like total of 7 years, then we got approved. But then the market crashed. So the whole project just went down the roof, and then some of my partner went bankruptcy because they couldn't afford the timing and the market. So at this point, we're trying to develop the lots first and then get at least the initial approval before we spend a lot more time and then money to develop the new houses. And we want to work with the city because we love the city and we want to bring new house and new environment to the city. So, but then we want to get an initial approval first in order to develop more money, more time into it.
And if I may say something, Chair.
Go
And all your time and effort that you've done in developing again in our city is remarkable. And do you think it's possible? I'm not saying it's not a direction, but I'm just saying in general. Do you think, if possible, that if the commission was to ask for you to return to the next meeting, that you'll be able to? I know it's very expensive to have an architecture to do detailed plans, but do you think it's possible, at least for the next meeting or something, to have a 1-page or 2-page architectural design of how it's going to look?
For the existing house?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. We can have it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
It's just that it's hard for us, for me, to approve something that there are missing parts. I hope you understand that.
Yes.
Because all I see is, I understand that the lot is large and you can potentially subdivide it and get more lots of it. However, we also need to know how everything is being put together. So the end result, we normally like to see from the beginning. This is the beginning portion, but we don't see the end of it. What will the result will? What type of house are you planning to put? How are you going to impact? And the neighborhood probably would like to see that as well. And obviously, you can put a lot of money, and obviously, you're probably going to bring in the value and bring in the development. But we also need to kind of know what are we approving.
Sure.
Because right now, we only hear what you say you're going to fix and you're going to move things around, but that's verbal. Normally, we do get to see they kind of lay that all out. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to subdivide it, and this is what we're going to build.
Yeah, sure. I will be glad to provide the existing structure in a way that will meet the requirement, and I will submit it to the planning for the next meeting, so that will be fine. There won't be any problem.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else has questions for our applicant? If not, we're gonna open for to the public hearing. For those in favors, please come up. to speak about the project? Is anyone else? Do we have any card on the Zoom as well?
No.
No? If not, okay, those in oppose, can you please come up, please? Do we have a card?
First of all, I want to thank you and you for having some stopping and having some requesting some vision before making a judgment call. This seems cart before the wheel. What are we doing here? And it's from what I read, I believe lot 5 and 6 and 1 through 4 will also or could possibly have ADUs as well, not just single-story homes, from what I believe. I may be wrong. And I thought I understood that the 2 existing homes were going to be torn down. I may have that wrong. So yes, there's a lot of things that are very vague here tonight, but I applaud the questions and I applaud you guys for wanting some vision and for the residents to be able to see with you and help you and hopefully you'll make the best decision when you do have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Come on up. Can you please help us fill out a card as well?
I'm also with her. My name is Rachel. And same thing, I applaud you for the questions, and I third the emotion. Emotion 1 and 2, and I'm the third. Lots of concerns, and yes, we would love to have a visual of what it's going to look like. And especially my main concern is, I have lots of concerns, and I commented, I think I was one of the last ones. My house is located right behind number 6, right on the side. And
I'm sorry.
It's really going to affect where I live.
Ma'am, can you use the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry.
Otherwise,
I got all excited. I want to start turning around, looking that way. So anyway, we're being impacted. Not only me, all the residents in our neighborhood on Craig Drive. I live on Craig, and I live right behind Lot 6. So that's going to be an impact, number 1, to us. How it's going to affect our residents there and all the others. And I totally oppose a two-story homes there, because that's going to impede into the privacy of where I live, my backyard, and my pool. We constantly are in our pool with family. Well, not recently because of COVID, but that is also an issue for us. And just more residents, more traffic. We're going to have more traffic, more cars. Children live in the neighborhood. Parents have to be more cautious of watching their children. At this point, but those are my concerns for now. And yes, we would love to see the visual. We'd love to see what it's going to look like. Because right now we have no idea, like you say, it's being chopped up in pieces and we don't even know what it's going to look like. And my question also is, since I live behind Lot 6, is there going to be a fence built dividing that lot and my home as well? Is that going to also be, are they going to do something about that? Because I have a big lot. My lot where I live is about a little over a quarter of an acre. So that's going to be a long distance of fencing that they would have to put up, or wall. So that's my concerns. And I know this is just the subdivisions that you're going to try to approve, but eventually their proposals are going to be to add homes. And so I just oppose that and the two-story homes. I hope you guys make the right decision. I'll fill out the card. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have another card? Would like to speak on behalf of this project, or actually oppose this project? Okay, if we don't have anyone else coming up, we're going to close the public hearing and open for commission discussion. I'm sorry.
Mr. Hang, because we had people speaking in opposition, we should afford the applicant an opportunity to address those speakers.
Oh, okay. All right. Applicant Kevin, can you please come back up?
only if they have comments in response to those speaking in opposition.
Thank you, Ivy. Didn't know you're on the phone.
Thank you for all the neighbors that show the concern, that show that they care about the neighborhood, they care about their house. So as a developer and a resident of West Covina, I'd like to thank them for the voice and the supporting. But to make their concern a little easier, we actually widening the street for, I believe it's a Frendale, right? We actually dedicate 8 feet of our lot to the street, so the street going to be a little bigger. And also, we like to maintain whatever uniform for the neighborhood. Let's say 1 story, 2 story. If people are concerned about the privacy, then we will keep it as a 1 story. And we listen to the neighbor. We want to make them happy and their value, the neighbor, to keep up the condition of the property, because this property has not been. It's a big lot, a lot of maintenance. There are times when tenants do a lot of illegal stuff there, and that was like being corrected. And also, we like to do whatever planning, building requirement, like if they approve for, let's say they heard the voice from the neighbor, they don't want 2 story, we're going to develop 1 story, and that will ease their concern. And what else? Yeah, so we want to keep up the neighborhood, the community, and as less noise. If we develop them, we'll provide anything that make the noise to the minimum, and that's how we going to do.
Okay, thank you. Does any commissioners has questions for our applicant?
Oh, sir, I think the easement that I was asking you about is on the Craig Drive side.
That's right.
And I think that's the one where you're going to provide 10 foot
right.
for the widening.
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, I guess that's the easement. Do we have any other questions? If not, we're gonna close public hearing and open for commission discussions.
I'll make a motion to, if it's okay with staff schedule, to bring it back to the next commission meeting. I thank the applicant for being willing to provide a semi-detailed drawing in color of how those lot 5 and 6 is going to look like, those homes. I make a motion to bring back this item at the next commission meeting. Also, with the applicant's commitment that he will provide the planning department in advance drawing a 1 or 2 page drawing of how houses 5 and 6 will be developed. So that's my motion.
If possible, I'm with you on your motion, but I want to make it a little more specific, so that the applicant has specific directions. I would concur with that motion so long as we add specific direction indicating that with regard to lot 6, with regard to the garage, we have an indication on where the garage will be placed and how the applicant will set back the frontage on that property to be a conforming use that's got a 25-foot setback, or lot 6. The same thing with regard to lot 5, and quite frankly, how the driveway is going to work on that, given the current design of the home there.
And I will amend my motion to reflect Commissioner Lewis's additional comments, and hopefully maybe on page 1 it could be the drawing of the whole house, and then on page 2 it could reflect all those small details that Commissioner Lewis is requesting. So yes, I will amend my motion to include.
I will second.
Chair, if I may,
Yeah,
we
go
can
ahead.
ask the applicant if he would be able to accommodate that for the next planning commission meeting. The next planning commission meeting is April 27th. However, we would need the plans no later than Monday of next week. So,
Would you like to come up and answer some of the questions that our staff have for you, please? Thank you. Staff is trying to put this next meeting on the 26th, which is the next Planning Commission meeting. However, you also need to get some of these documents to the staff by certain dates. And Joanne?
the next planning commission meeting is April 27th. In order for you to make that April 27th planning commission meeting, we would have to have complete plans no later than Monday, the 19th of April. So that's next week.
If you can't make that date, then we just have to move it to another date.
Yes, then the date after that, after the 27th, the following planning commission meeting date is May 11th. So
I think I would like the May 11th. So this way we'll give my designer, architect a little more time to work on it and to meet some of the site plan and, you know, some of the things that detail. So it would be better to meet again at on May 11th.
So I will.
Since you're up here, I have a question for the applicants, though. Regarding the other 4 lots, I understand that you're subdividing it right now. Are you also planning to develop, meaning build it, once you get the lot divided?
Yes, we like to develop once we get the tentative map approval, and that is in our plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for so
Chair Hang,
So we have the motion.
Chair Hang, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Chair Hang and Commissioner. Yeah, this is your Assistant City Attorney. Joanne, could you please clarify for the applicant, in order to meet the May 11th date, by what date would you need to receive the additional documentation?
One second. We would need it by May 3rd.
no, actually, sorry. It should be submitted to us by April 28th. I would say April 28th by noon.
Is that good?
No problem.
Okay, great. So I would like to amend my motion to reflect the new dates, which will be that the applicant will provide the planning department those additional documentation by April 28th, so it can be included on the May 11th West Covina Planning Commission meeting.
Also with the motions, I also like to add the fact that I like to see the whole subdivisions and how the end result is. I understand that he is fixing the 2 lots that has existing house, but I also, since he is developing, I also like to see what is he putting on those 2 lots. I mean, 4 lots.
Chair Hang.
Total 5, yes.
Chair Hang.
I'd like to add that to the motion.
Chair Hang and members of the commission. Chair Hang and members of the commission, that is likely out of the scope of this particular application, which is simply for the subdivision. We have proposed conditions relating to how the existing properties or existing structures will be treated. And I understand the commission's concerns about wanting to see what that will look like. But, this item is not relating to the future development of those other lots.
Okay, all right, thank you, City Attorney. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second with the amendment?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So, Paulina, roll call, please.
Can I just make sure we're clear on what we're motioning on? We're motioning to take it to the May 11th Planning Commission with the requirement that they submit by April 28th by noon. They're going to include plans regarding the reconfiguration of the single-family homes on lots 6 and 5, how those two building portions that are going to be demolished, how they're going to be reconfigured, and how they're going to meet the front setback requirements along their new reconfigured front yard.
And the relocation of the garage.
And relocation of the garage. Okay. So roll call. Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Chair Heng?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. This action is final unless it's actually, we're moving it to the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, we're going on to the next public hearing. Code Amendment number 20-08, General Exemption. Applicant is MLC Holding, City of West Covina Planning Commission initiate. Location is downtown plan area. Requested the proposed code amendment consists of potential amendments to the downtown plan and code amendment standards, which are part of the West Covina Municipal Code. The downtown plan includes the Civic Center area, Cameron Avenue, Plaza West Covina, and Vincent Avenue, Glendora Avenue. The proposed code amendment is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, sequel, pursuant to sections 15061B3. Joanne, who will be presenting the report?
Joanne will be presenting the report.
I will be presenting the staff report. I'll go ahead and begin the presentation with a little bit of background information. The downtown plan and code was first adopted by the City Council on December 20th, 2016. It was then amended on August 21st, 2018, and December 18, 2018. The first amendment was considered a cleanup amendment, while the second amendment dealt with adjustments in the parking standards. On September 30th, 2020, staff received the request for a code amendment from MLC Holdings. This request was then presented to the Planning Commission on October 13, 2020, in which the Planning Commission initiated the code amendment. I'll go ahead and go over some of the changes that is being proposed. For Part 4, Section 4.2 in subsection 4.2C in the downtown plan, under T4 General Urban Zone, currently there is a ground floor minimum and upper stories minimum height requirement. And this requirement is currently just a flat height requirement and it applies for both commercial and residential development. So in the proposed draft code amendment, we are requesting that the code differentiate the minimum ground floor height between commercial and residential development. It's in an urban setting. The height for residential development is typically, the plate height for residential development is typically lower than that of commercial development. So initially, we thought we proposed a higher plate height for commercial development, and the applicant is proposing a lower plate height for residential development. For residential development, it's currently it's at 12 feet for both commercial and residential, And for residential development, the proposal is to lower that to 10 feet in height. And for commercial, we are proposing it to, we were initially proposing it to make that plate height higher. An example of the need for the lowering of the plate height can be seen in the photograph on the right. This is a multifamily residential development in another city. As you can see, the plate height for the ground floor is higher than the plate height for the second floor. From my perspective, it just from appearance and aesthetics, it makes it look unbalanced and look odd in a sense. Typically for an urban setting, commercial development, the plate height is typically higher. It is to accommodate the required higher ceiling height for retail stores. Another proposed change is to change the minimum depth for private open space. Currently, the minimum depth and width for private open space is 8 feet. And it also clarifies that the minimum area for private open space is a cumulative 100 square feet. The other change is to clarify that the average width for each row house unit is the requested 16 feet minimum, and currently the minimum is 18 feet in width. And the staff added the clarification for unit, mainly because a row house can be proposed as one single row house building with one unit, or it can be proposed as one row house building with 5 different units at one, being proposed at once. So that clarification, that unit clarification was added by staff, as it is currently being practiced this way. Another change is deleting the minimum width for stoops. Currently, the minimum width for stoops is 5 feet, and the minimum depth for stoops is 8 feet max. So we are removing, it's supposed to be crossed out in the PowerPoint presentation, but we're removing the minimum, the maximum depth and width for stoops. And to the right of the text is a photograph of an example of what a stoop is. Another change that is being proposed, and it's something that staff noticed in the downtown plan, there are certain structures or development types, such as the row house and live-work development, where it talks about it's typically found in a medium neighborhood density. And staff is proposing to remove this language mainly because density is identified in the general plan. It's to avoid any confusion and inconsistencies in the future. With this, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 21-6076, recommending that the City Council adopt or approve the code amendment. If the Planning Commission has any questions, staff is available to answer. Also, the applicant is here to provide their presentation as well.
Okay, thank you. Does any commissioner have questions for staff? Anyone? I actually do. Joanne, can you pull out the requirements again?
I'm sorry, for which slide?
I'm not sure. Just
This one?
we only have a few.
Did you want this one? Or
Can you put it on the TV screen right here? It's pretty. Okay, I guess that one seems to be fine. You're trying to tell us that commercial, you increase it 2 feet. And a lot of time, commercial building, it was built just box. And then a lot of time, they also need to drop down the ceiling a little bit to get all the equipments, like the ACs and all the other equipments in there. So that's why they need the higher heights. And you're saying residents, so now you're separating into residential sections and commercial sections, correct?
yes,
Residential section, you just want to minimally drop the heights to 10 feet, and then the upper floor is also 10 feet. Okay. That portion, can you move on to the next slide? Private spacing. So we're, at the end of the day, you're still getting 100 square foot, but the minimum is 6. The depth wise is 6 feet. I was wondering why that makes a difference. The building size and mass. I understand that a row house, let's say if you stack all the houses together, and if you're putting 5 houses next to each other, now you want to move from 18 foot wide. That traditionally probably fit 1 car or 2 car garage. I believe the traditional row house is normally built with a garage and then kitchen, living space, and then the upper floor is the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So I guess the question, if we were to reduce it to 16 feet, then really is only 1 car can fit in there because 3 feet or 4 feet will be taken by the stair. So we're back to about, can't do the math, it's a little late, I guess, probably 12 feet wide. So 12 feet wide, so really 12 feet wide is that you can only fit 1 garage. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. The private space, and then obviously if it's a row house, it's really tight. Mm-hmm. We not only have to put the garage in there, but the trash can as well, because all that has to be compacted in there somehow. I'm not sure how. By reducing it, that can be a concern. Now the 6 feet depth in terms of minimum square footage, if I understand this correctly, Joanne, it's 100-foot cumulative, but they just want to reduce the depth to 6 feet, so they're making it wider to get the 100 feet. Probably the whole 16 times 6, I would say. Does that add up to 100?
So
anyway, it's a little late, but
So maybe the applicant could answer some of those questions too.
So the applicant would be able to answer your first question, since they are proposing the to make the width of the row house units from 18 feet to 16 feet. So they have a presentation. They have a presentation prepared to explain to the Planning Commission why they feel that it's necessary or needed.
Right.
And as far as the private open space is considered, the 100 square feet is a cumulative. So basically, that includes that would include the balcony, if they have a balcony, and the private open space on the first floor, like a little the little patio area added together. So the cumulative of those 2 areas, if they have 2 separate areas for accommodating their private open space, it would be those 2 areas added together.
Oh, so they can, like the stoop area can be the 50 square foot, and then the upstairs balcony area can be another 50 square.
That's correct.
And then it add up to 100. Or
That's correct. And also the minimum depth requirement, it's to accommodate a private open space area that is located on a balcony. So typically balconies don't protrude as forward as much. So it's so that they would be able to accommodate that private open space located on a balcony. But the applicant has some visuals that they would be able to show you.
Okay, thank you. But also, Joanne, though, this not only affect the applicant tonight.
Yes,
It
that's correct.
seems like we're looking at the entire downtown plan. Once we make the changes, it's really, we're taking effect the entire downtown region. So I just want to understand a little bit about all that. Can you pull back the screen again to see if there's another screens that I have questions on? Because basically, from what I understand, is that it's not affecting current, well, yes, it does. It affects the applicant, potential applicant, but it also affects the entire city's downtown. So whoever comes after this, if we were to approve it or the city councils to approve it, if we recommend for city council to approve it, that's how our development will turn out from now on, right?
Yes.
So the width, 8 foot, so they're trying to make it smaller in the front, the stoop area. So I guess my question is, if the house is going 3-story up and we only have 5 feet, I mean, is it right in front of your face when you're walking on the sidewalk? Are we
No,
planning to walk on the sidewalk?
the stoop area, they are not trying to make it smaller. It's actually the opposite, because right now
They're making it bigger.
there is a minimum 5 feet and a maximum area. So you can't have a stoop area that's wider and deeper than 8 feet, because 8 feet is the max. This section is supposed to be a cross out, not an underline. It was a mistake. But yes, currently we have a minimum and a maximum. So the proposal is to get rid of the maximum.
So maybe we can have the applicants. Can we see
Okay.
what the applicant has?
Right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying all that questions. And I guess, yeah, thank you. Okay. Does anyone else have questions for staff? If not, we're going to open up to public hearing. I don't see anyone else has questions. Okay, we'll open for public hearing, and we'll hear testimony from the applicant, and then those in favor, and then those opposed.
Chair Hang and members of the Planning Commission, thank you so much for the opportunity to present this code amendment request before you today. My name is Matt Mahara. I'm a project manager with Meritage Homes. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank staff. Joanne did a great job explaining some of those items. And Chair Hang, I'd like to, we have a couple slides I think that will help explain some of your questions. So I'd like to take an opportunity to thank staff for an extremely thorough staff report. As I mentioned, I work for Meritage Homes. We built the Cameron 56 project, if you're familiar with it. It's located on West Cameron and Toluca Avenue. So for that project, we received our full entitlements, unanimous approval. And we worked closely with the neighbors. We made sure that everyone was kept in the loop. So thankfully, no one spoke to oppose the project. That was back in 2018. And I just wanted to kind of share as a fun fact for that project, we just recently sold out of that community, and we found out that about half of the homes that were sold to first responders, to teachers, police officers, firemen. So I just bring that up only because not only were we able to fill a need within the city in terms of providing housing in this part of the city. We were also able to provide housing to a very crucial demographic. So that was kind of a cool little fun fact that I wanted to share. I just to reiterate, we're really happy to be in the city of West Covina. Joanne, if we could just pull up this. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to quickly run through some of the renderings that we put together for the West Cameron project. This project, and I have a site plan at the end of this PowerPoint. But this project is 84 three-story townhomes located directly adjacent to the Cameron 56 project. So here's an image of these townhomes from West Cameron, showing what those stoops would look like, how the landscaping is working, and as you can see, the stoops, we needed to eliminate that maximum width requirement for the stoops in order to provide full length stoops here, as shown in the illustration. Could we go to the next slide? And here's an evening shot of the entrance of the West Cameron project. And again, you can see the stoops with the landscaping proposed. We're really excited about this project. It's similar in terms of the architecture, 3-story townhomes, similar to the Cameron 56, but also adjusted specific for this site. It's not the same architecture. It's not the same product. It's altered specific for this community, and we're really excited about it. Next slide. And here's an image of one of the paseos, kind of looking down into the space, and you can see how the private open space is working, how folks can utilize the private open space on the second story, as well as the ground floor between the paseos of this community. Next slide. So in terms of the request to reduce the width of the townhomes from 18 feet to 16 feet, what we developed, and it's a very popular townhome product that we're planning throughout communities all throughout Southern California. It's an interlocking townhome, so it's a townhome, or it's a tandem unit directly next to a side-by-side garage. And what this does is you're able to reduce the width ultimately, and create efficiencies in terms of density, but you're also able to provide more storage for the tandem unit, which was key. If you're going to buy a unit like that, you want enough storage. So that was the request to show how this unit is working, and if we were able to provide just straight townhome, 18 foot wide townhomes side by side, you're not able to provide enough of that storage area. So this is our solution to not only increase density but to increase the storage capacity there. And can we go to the next slide? This kind of gives you an idea of where those townhomes are within that floor plan. So it's an interlocking townhome that's repeated every 2. So it shows you, and then in terms of the form-based code and the downtown plan, when you look at it from an elevation, it still looks like a traditional townhome, but the reality is that the architecture within inside is the walls are zigzagging around to accommodate for a traditional 2-car garage and a tandem unit. And you can see that in the rear elevation. Can we go to the next slide? So for the upper floor decks, I just wanted to read an excerpt from the downtown plan. Downtown plan states, the primary building sits at the front of the property, with the garage at the rear separated from the primary building by a rear yard. So for this definition, as written for the downtown plan, that's typically found in older, lower density type townhome communities. In my opinion, it's a little bit of an outdated model, and builders today aren't building that way. We're trying to be as efficient with the space as possible. Also residents aren't looking to, when it's raining, they don't want to walk from the garage to the actual home. It makes a lot more sense to have that space connected within the actual building. The request for the private open space is to make sure that we can split it between the ground floor and then the upper floors, so that as written, it's really more intended for the ground floor, and they were expecting to have an 8 by 8 foot square basically. And so what we would like to do is split that open space up. It's very common for us, and in a lot of cities, as we mentioned here, to break that open space up and to provide for some balcony space on the second story or the third story, depending on the type of product. And the reason for that is because we have the living space on the second story. So we would like to account for that private open space on the living level as well. Can we go to the next slide? And then this just kind of shows you, in terms of Chair Hang, for your question about the why requests from 8 feet to 6 feet, it's a constructability problem that we have. If this is going to be if this open space is on the second story, every foot matters in terms of cantilevering that balcony out. And if we can provide a 6-foot minimum dimension, we're actually able to provide more open space both on the ground floor and the upper floor to exceed that 100 square foot amount. And it just shows you on each of the floor plans how that open space is being utilized. And you can see kind of how the furniture would be laid out. And next slide. And this is just as an aside, the project that we built in Cameron 56 sold out, is extremely successful. It also provided for minimum balcony space that was under the current 8-foot minimum. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I just want to reiterate, we're really happy to be here in the city of West Covina, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I do have a concern that the city had gone through the time of having community meetings, which allowed for the general plan and different changes that they made to encourage more affordable housing. And I'm a little concerned that it does appear that what you're asking us to do is to craft something that perhaps meets your company's desires and needs. With your Cameron 56, did you have to apply for a specific plan in order to lay it out the way that you have constructed it?
No, with that project, we did not have to. The downtown plan was newly formed, so we were consistent with the downtown plan at that point.
So for that, you're providing at least 100 square feet of usable yard area, but it wasn't cumulative.
It was cumulative. Yeah.
And so how did you provide that at the 56?
It was as far as I'm aware, it was an interpretation with the code, with the previous planning director, and that was an exception that they provided for that project specifically, and that's how they were able to get around having the lower minimum dimension.
And so for the code amendments that you're asking for is for a future project, but again, the concern I have is that the city did have input from the community, and what we want and what we're looking for is quality. We understand that there are certain constraints when it comes to building and laying out items, but also, too, West Covina is different from the other cities that you listed that had the much smaller private yard area.
Absolutely, yep.
And we're looking for quality. And so I need to ask you, the product that you're proposing these changes for, who are you designing them for?
This type of product is a product that we've built in communities throughout Southern California, and it's not just us. It's actually every home builder that I can think of, and when they're building a 3-story townhome, they need to meet certain open space requirements, and in every case that I can think of, they have that private open space on the balcony as well. So for us, it was really more of when we were reviewing the downtown plan with staff, it was really more of clarification to provide clarity in the downtown plan to make sure that it's explicit, where this open space is counted, and you're not relying on exceptions. This is something that has been accepted by staff and us as kind of an industry standard for some of these requirements. For example, the minimum width for townhomes, or the minimum width for the tandem units, that's going to happen regardless. It's really just a matter of accounting for that language within the downtown plan to state it explicitly that if a developer comes in the future and has this interlocking unit, which is very common, that that there's actually language in there specifying the minimums and the, you know.
Right, because actually what I'm getting at when I'm asking you who you're designing this for, one, I don't understand how you would accommodate people with the American disabilities.
Okay.
How would you guys provide a unit for someone wishing to purchase?
So the stoops were designed, that the buildings that front on West Cameron are not ADA accessible, and they don't have to be. It was driven by staff. They asked, they really wanted more of an urban, feel for how the entrances fronted onto West Cameron. There are units specified within the community further back that are ADA accessible that don't have stoops. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So a wheelchair won't be able to fit through the front door, or what's
just
what
because you have stairs, it's automatically not ADA compatible. You have to be able to get to the front door. So we have units outlined specifically that would be ADA compliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question, I understand doing the tandem garage, and I'm glad that you did bring the plan showing that it would be at least 12 feet wide, and then it seems like the livable area next to that is going to end up being a total of 32 feet wide as opposed to 36.
Right.
Again, when I'm referring to who you're designing this for, would these units accommodate people with small children?
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're actually intended for that type of demographic in mind. We're looking to not only make these homes attainable, that the tandem unit is probably something that I would look at buying, but with that, we wanted to make sure that we're providing enough storage space. So that was the thought process behind explicitly stating that it's an average width of 16 feet.
Can you bring up that plan again? I'm sorry. Can you bring up that plan? So, there you go. Thank you.
So it's 12 feet on the garage side, and then it's 16 feet on the front, and then it's the average of 16 feet when you account for the whole building. So it's that makes sense.
So, question: where would the children have an area for outdoor within your development?
It's all in the private open space. So for the interlocking unit, the townhome, and the side by side, we have, as you can see, on the tandem unit, we have a little bit of a smaller porch, but we have more of that open space, that private open space on the balcony on the second story where all the living is happening, so that while someone's cooking dinner, you can watch your kids that are actually playing on the balcony, as opposed to outside, or it's closer to the street. It's all contained within the townhome unit.
So you guys aren't actually providing like a playground area down on the main floor ground?
Specific for the units that face West Cameron, there's no like.
So there actually isn't any common area?
There is common open space within the community, and I'm happy to pull up the site plan. But yeah, I'm just talking specific for the actual floor plan. That the private open space is the balcony for the second story, the upper levels where you're living.
Do you have a slide for the?
I do. Yeah, it's the last page. So in the throughout the paseos within the townhomes, we have some green space, and then also in the corners we have reserved the lower left corners. We have reserved green space with doggy bag station, benches, that kind of thing to provide some greenery and a place for kids to play.
Okay, I guess where I'm kind of wondering, how large are the corner areas that you're providing for the common space?
I'd have to confirm. I'd have to get back with you on that one. I don't just want to make sure I get you the right number, but I can get that number for you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, this proposal is to amend the code, but this is for a specific project, right?
It's
for that project, right?
It's really only to amend the code for the downtown plan across the board, it just so happens that we're the first project applying after the downtown plan would be amended.
So was this presentation made public before this meeting, or was this the first time everyone's seen this? City staff?
This is the first time.
Okay, I will.
Actually, if I could just amend that, we did present in October of last year, and that was a public hearing where we presented the Planning Commission. They voted unanimously to initiate the proceedings, and the public was allowed to speak at that hearing as well. So this is the second time.
But to clarify, this exact presentation was not made at that Planning Commission meeting. It was more of a verbal.
Okay, so my only concern will be that, again, I'm a big supporter of development, and especially our city meeting the regional housing planning and so forth. But I would like to see. I would have loved to see this detailed information in advance before today's meeting. And this is just an idea, but do you think it's possible that if we were to postpone this to our next meeting, that you'll be able to? I mean, I guess the city staff already has it, but would this be something that the Planning Commission can receive before the meeting?
I'm sorry. You mean for their project?
Yeah. I obviously I know that it's not going to be detailed because it involves investment in money, but something just like the other problem, just like the other matter, I think that it's important that we see these drawings before we're voting on something.
The code amendment is separate from the project. It just so happens that he's bringing up his project as an example for him asking for the code amendment, but the code amendment impacts the entire downtown plan area, not just his project.
So, I'm a big supporter of development, but I think it's important that we as a planning commission or myself and the public is seeing these images before a matter is brought to us. But that's just a spoken idea. Thank you.
I appreciate that feedback, and Commissioner, if
I think so. Okay, I like to add that it's great that we're distinguished between the commercial and the residential heights. So I mean, I think that's a good thing. That obviously residential, we don't need 14 feet that high, basically. Right, so that's one thing that might be good for the residential development in the downtown area. I guess some of the areas that we're having a little bit issue. Again, this is an amendment that affects the entire downtown area, that we're making recommendations. We don't approve anything, actually. We make recommendations for city councils to approve. So regarding some of the changes, I guess you're trying to explain to us we're not very clear in terms of which area is being affected. From what I understand after your presentation is that you're trying to tell me that by combining the two units but zigzag over the units in the middle, you might come up with some type of better arrangement for your development, for the row homes.
So yes, and from day one, and the reason why I bring up the project, the West Cameron project specifically, is just really to give you an example. But I'll speak as a developer.
I've actually, hold on for 1 sec. I actually visited your project, Cameron, about a week or so ago.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's sold out. It was closed.
Yeah.
Somehow the salesperson was able to kind of, we were able to get in to see the model. I believe the model is still available. And I think, Commissioner, if you have time, it might still be available, and we should, drop by and take a look before it's all
I see
sold
it.
out.
It's a remarkable project,
Yeah. But so yes, I was able to see some of the items in all 4 or 3 models, so they're nicely built. But I just want to clarify in terms of what it is that we're moving. Can we go back to the slide regarding the 100 square foot? It seems like you have it in there according to that example. Go back to the deck portion, the second floor. the deck in front of the living room or the kitchen area. Forgot. I was looking at it earlier.
The floor. Yep.
There you go.
So
you put it on the screen here. So it seems like each of these units, Plan 2, Plan 3, you seems to have 100 square foot on the deck area.
So we're always meeting the 100 square footage, that requirement. It's
Right.
literally just the depth that we're talking about. So because we span the private open space across the
entire
width of
unit.
it's just rearranging the open space to accommodate for the width of the building, while not necessarily extending out as far as to 8 feet, but still meeting that 100 square feet. It's still usable as private open space.
Okay. That's, the deck area, if you look at it, the purple house has 100 square foot in front of it. The yellow, I wouldn't call it condo, also have 101 square foot in front of it. That's Plan 2. Plan 3, Plan 1, and I take it Plan 1 is the one with attendant parking. That's a little bit smaller square footage.
Plan 1 is what we call the kind of end units. They're a little bit more compact, but what you see here is this is the second and third floor plan. Each provide the minimum 6 foot depth, but they're about 70 square feet. So, but amongst the building, we're providing 140 square feet of private open space. So we're exceeding the private open space requirement, but it's spread out amongst 2 different levels. So that you can enjoy, coffee across from your bedroom on the 3rd floor, and your kids can enjoy the 2nd story private open space as well.
So you're also planning to have open space in the 2nd floor, which is the kitchen living area, and then the master bedroom. I assume you have a little open space on
Exactly.
the 3rd floor.
Where you could have another chair and have coffee outside, and yeah.
Okay.
So we're just asking to split that space up into multiple floors.
All right, thank you.
Which I think the reason why we're asking for this amendment is it's a pretty common practice amongst home builders to provide, open space on multiple levels. We'd like to make sure that it's written, or we're requesting, we've been working with staff, that it's written in the code so that when another developer comes in with a different project in the downtown plan, they have these requirements already outlined. That's why I'm here today.
It's actually nicely thought out in a way that if I have a little pet, I like to have them go to
exactly
do their thing.
Yeah.
But okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining all that. So does staff have any other questions for our applicant? Not staff, commissioners, I'm sorry. Staff, we're asking staff questions. But okay. Does anyone? If not, we're gonna, I think that's it. So we're gonna open for those who in favor.
Thank you.
Do we have a card, or does anyone is on the Zoom call? No, we don't have a card in favor. And then we'll go open up for those who oppose. Come on up.
Once again, thank you for looking into the line of question. But for many of us who sat in the general plan back in 2016, we, as residents, took our time to look at what we thought residents would want to have for the future. We didn't expect a developer to ever come and interpret our general plan and critique it and to make it fit to their development. That's not what the general plan's for. It's not that old. Yes, it's for less aggressive development, and that's what the residents wanted. There was a large number of residents that gathered to be part of the general plan. So please don't allow a developer to come in and interpret and want to make changes for their specific development. And this particular development, unlike the Cameron, the one that he was referring to, this particular one looks like a apartment building. There is no definition on the heights. There's a lot of criticism. I don't know if I should be critiquing the fact that they are really asking for zone change or changing for the general plan, because it will definitely affect that whole region. Or if I'm critiquing the development itself, but I have issue with the development, as well as please don't let a developer come in and take our time. We put in a lot of hours for the general plan, and he may interpret this as being an older version, or new developers are coming in and doing something differently. That may be, but they should work within the confines and the rule and the general plan as it exists in each city and abide by what we residents wanted. And so I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Post project? If not, I guess we'll hear from the applicant again. Thank you.
And I just wanted to introduce my supervisor, Aaron Tallarico. He's the vice president for forward planning. He just wanted to address the neighbor's concern and then also just to clarify a few things.
Thank you.
Chair Hang and Commissioners, I don't know if I'd call myself a supervisor, maybe a colleague, but thank you, Matt. Just addressing the last speaker's comments in terms of developer. I mean, we are, I guess you could say a developer, but we're a home builder, a community builder. We take great pride in, what we've done in West Covina in the past and now currently and then moving into the future. Most of these items here that about the width of the deck from the 8 to the 6, as you could saw on camera 56, it was already, there was a couple of those decks that were 5'6" or I think just about 6 feet. The whole purpose of that downtown plan and kind of like in terms of developers coming in and changing the code, that's not what we're trying to do. The downtown plan and code is a form-based code. And it's meant to have that flexibility to give, different options as you go develop a property. In this case, the beauty of this project versus maybe our Cameron 56 project is we're having some smaller units in there that gets more attainable pricing, more workforce housing. Part of the tandem unit, we're finding that, where maybe 10, 15 years ago you thought the next home buyer would not be okay with the tandem unit, these home buyers are. There's just so much pent-up demand for really first-time home buyers, young families, move-down buyers, anyone who can get in anything that's FHA qualified, really. That is like so critical for this next generation of homeowners. It really kind of, as Matt doing a great job and staff and Joanne, as they went through this project, they did notice, hey, you know what? We should clean up the stoops. The dimensions on that, and we should clean up these decks because we saw in Camp 56, those were interpreted, I believe, within that form-based code environment to be okay. I was the one who worked on that Cameron 56 project. One thing you'll notice at Cameron 56, we were, back in the day, there was a setback, but we could have been 3 stories right next to single-family homes per the downtown planning code. So to the last speaker's point, I think the intention was always that this downtown planning code was going to be cleaned up as people went through the process. And that's how I remember Jeff, the previous planning director, as well as planning commissioners and city council members that were really involved in that process, explained it to us because we were the first project that was a residential to the downtown planning code. So hopefully that explains a little bit of kind of the need for the flexibility. We're not asking like, hey, if we don't get these tweaks, and they're only really a foot or two, the project doesn't work, but it just gives us the ability to create the project we believe is the right project for that property. And we think that the community and then the future residents will enjoy, similar to Cameron 56. Those are maybe the main points. I can answer any questions about the Cameron 56 project or previous stuff we've done in the city of West Covina, or Matt can. I just wanted to make those points. Hopefully that wasn't too much.
I have a question. For city staff and the city attorney, just to clarify. Today, we're being asked to amend the code so the applicant can pursue planning to develop that property. So we're not approving that project today. All we're doing is amending the code, which allows the developer to start the process in drawing detailed plans. So at a later date, this commission will be brought I'm assuming, plans that outline a project, right?
Correct. You will receive a formal submittal from the applicant for the project.
Okay.
So tonight, right now, we're seeking approval for the code amendment so that we can take it to City Council for their formal approval.
So amending the code just allows the developer, just to clarify, amending the code tonight, if the commission decides to do so, only allows this developer to start its process in drawing detailed plans, and at a later date and time, the general public will have the chance to speak on the matter that involves development at that point.
I don't.
Right.
Actually, we're amending the code that affects the entire downtown plan, not just for this particular developer. It so happened that they're here and they like to make some changes to fit, I suppose, their criteria or their needs. But we're not making changes just affecting them per se. We're changing it to affect everyone else that follows them.
So I guess my question would be to the city attorney, is it possible for the commission to recommend amendment of the code just for this specific project or by case basis?
We're actually not making an approval. This is a recommendations. As the planning commissions tonight, we're making a recommendations. And the recommendation is which will go to the city council, and city council body approves all the general planned.
Yeah, I know. Just to address your question about does it affect everything, which if that's a concern, then is it possible for the commission to make a recommendation for this project only and not doing a change that we don't know about the future, what the future holds?
Ivy, are you on the phone?
Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
That is not the application before you, and it's possible that there are very specific code amendments applying plan-wide that are before you tonight. The commission could recommend other code amendments or greater flexibility that would apply, again, plan-wide, but not specific just to this project.
Okay, great, thank you. And just, I think it's important that we also outline to the general public who are watching at home and who there's no one here tonight, but whoever's watching at home and who's going to review this video later on, that it's important that we outline that amending the code, we're making a recommendation, but if the planning commission decides to make a recommendation, that we're making a recommendation, and it's not a door that opens widely and says, okay, all developers, build apartments there or build housing there. No, there's a legal process that each developer has to go through, and if the planning commission decides to do this recommendation to the city council, in the end of the day, there's still and always will be the legal process that California and the city mandates in the building and planning codes of our state and our city. So I just wanted to clarify that to the general public.
That's correct, commissioners, and I would like to add that to the extent that the applicant was speaking of specific projects, you should treat them as just examples for your understanding of what the code amendments could be. But again, they are not specific to any particular project.
Thank you, City Attorney. Do we have any other questions for our applicants? Okay, if not, I'm gonna, thank you.
Chair,
yeah.
If I can provide some clarification real quick. I just wanted to go through it line by line because, okay, so this particular section regarding the plate heights, it impacts all areas in the T4 general urban zone. So I'll go ahead and show a map of the specific plan area. So all the areas in orange in the downtown plan are in the T4 general urban zone. So the plate height impacts all these areas, basically differentiating the play height for commercial and residential. For this row house, the amendment pertaining to the row house, private open space, and the width of each row house units, that section would only apply to areas within the downtown plan. There are many different building types that can be constructed. For example, I have downtown plan here. So there, in different parts of different areas in the downtown plan, there are different building types such as duplexes, rose walk, and bungalow court, row houses, live work, court, hybrid, linear, and flex building. For example, in the row house section, the row house can only be constructed in the T4 general urban and T4 urban neighborhood, I believe, zone. And that particular open space and building size and massing that is being proposed would only apply to those who wish to construct a row house building that is in these two zones, the T4 general urban and T4 urban neighborhood. And amongst these two zones, there are other types of buildings that other developers or other property owners can also construct, such as live work, which can be constructed in the T4 general urban zone as well. The court style, the hybrid court, the linear, the flex building type, and so forth. So basically, it's very specific. It would only apply to those in the T4 general urban zone, in the T4 urban neighborhood zone that wishes to construct a row house type building. And for the stoop, there are many different types of frontages, such as in the downtown plan that are allowed, such as porches, dooryards, and stoops, and forecourt. So the change in the stoop section only applies to those who wishes to construct a plan that involves a stoop. If let's say somebody else wants to construct a row house type development or a live work type development that utilizes a porch type frontage, then that stoop section would not apply to them. So it's the downtown plan area and code is flexible in that way that there are different building types that can be constructed at each zone. So.
And just to clarify, we're only amending the code to allow a developer to start the process. So tonight we're not recommending anything about how a house or something is going to look like, right?
Not a developer, any developer who wishes to construct this type of development within these very specific standards.
And then when that time comes that a developer wants to build, then at that time, the Planning Commission will have a say on how something's designed or how something looks like, right?
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so let's go back in terms of what it is that we are recommending to our city council. Joanne, can you pull out that sheets again regarding the commercials and the residentials? So this is what we're recommending to our city councils tonight. If we are recommending to our city council, can you put it on the screen, TV screen here too?
Which is, are you talking about this slide?
Yes, that one, and there's only a few items.
Okay, so let me go ahead and do the presentation from the beginning. Okay, so this would impact all the areas in orange that I.
Hold on, Joanne. We're not really we're not removing all of the items in the general urban zone. We're tweaking a little bit. Joanne, can you pull out that sheets again on the screen?
The downtown plan?
So, yes. So one of the items which will affect all developer is that they don't want 12 feet or 14 feet because it's a residential home. You don't really need it that high. 10 feet is pretty high. On the average, West Covina home is 8 feet right now. Most of the home that was built, most of them, unless you're 10, 20 years ago, then you get 9 feet. So 10 feet is a mini mansion. I mean, it's grand. It looks a lot better.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
are we talking 10 feet exterior or are we talking 10 feet interior?
Interior.
So you're talking about cathedral or vaulted ceilings, higher ceilings than traditional homes that were built in the 60s and the 70s.
Right. So for this proposed code amendment, are we talking about a minimum height that would go from 14 feet to 10 feet? Is that my understanding?
No, they're separating from commercial because before it was just one item, commercial and residential.
That part I understand. Are we talking interior or exterior height? Because there's a distinction there.
Interior heights. So 10 feet, I believe, is the floor as well. So
Sorry, is it interior height?
From floor to ceiling. In fact, the 10 feet can, for standard residential development, the 10 feet can even be lowered to 9 feet.
Well, I'm not sure I follow because you're showing us exterior photos, and now we're talking about interior height.
Yes. Well, I don't have access to the interior of this building, so I'm just showing the exterior photos to demonstrate how at times interior height.
So the bottom of okay, Joanne, can you bring up that picture? So let me see. The bottom of the picture of the porch area in the front of the house is actually the top of the ceiling inside the first floor. Where is that photo? Can you bring that up? So where Joanne is pointing right now, that's the bottom of the porch on the second floor. But if we go inside the house, that would be the ceiling heights, give or take an inch or two.
I think that's the commercial. Is that commercial?
That's residential.
Yes, that's one of. This is just an example of how what a residential construction would look like if the ceiling height for the ground floor is treated similar to commercial, where it's higher than the top floor.
That looks like a house from Arrowhead or Big Bear. Just kidding.
Chair.
Yes.
So what we're doing is we're taking the requirement that was for commercial mixed use that required, I believe it's the 14 or the 12 feet, and we're making a difference between commercial mixed use and residential development. So residential.
I understand that. So in a way, we're not really removing all the elements in there. We're tweaking it 2 feet or so for residential usage in this particular. In the downtown area. Move on to the next one, please, Joanne. So this is the height. They're asking for it to be a little lower, which I think it's okay. And then this one, Joanne, can you put it on the screen, the TV screen here? It's pretty far out there. Please.
The TV screen?
Yeah.
Put it right here.
At IT.
Can you? Yeah, I'm.
We don't have control over that.
IT department.
Sorry,
IT department.
Oh, the IT department.
It's not on the screen in front of you.
Okay.
Not yet.
It's not.
It's not.
Anyway, the second is the deck area, I believe. There you go. Thank you. So the second is the deck area. Instead of 8 feet wide, they're asking for 6 feet, and then they're running it across the entire, you can say, row. So that will give us 100 feet cumulative.
Yes.
I guess you can add to area for cumulative as well. And then the other thing that they're asking for is the garage to be 16 feet, which is they're shortening it by 2 feet because they're planning to stagger the, I think that's the term that they use for building. And then if you remember, if you go back when we were doing the general plan, this is a couple of years back, and none of the commissioners were here at the time. You probably attend the meeting at the time as well. But the downtown building, or at least they wanted to, it's just a form, it's a form type of building. And then you make it to look how it looks. It's not like, it's not really defined. It's like a block, and then you just adding, subtracting until it comes. I'm not an architecture, so I can't really explain this, but to me, you tweaked it until it looks nice. So that was a form, and then we're tweaking it tonight, adding 2 feet, taking out a foot or two here and there. And then there's another item. Is there anything else that we're making some tweak tonight if we're that portion?
The stoop.
Okay, so that's the stoop, which is the in front porch area. So they're asking for 3 feet less the depth and the width. So that's.
And that is
8
just
feet.
a
Sorry, no,
sample
they're
picture.
Oh, I'm
trying
sorry.
to eliminate the maximum, so there's no maximum.
Yes, they don't want the maximum. They want to make it bigger if they can. So certain area, they want to make it a little shorter. In certain area, they want it to be able to make it a little bit bigger. So I think that's a reasonable request. That's just, yeah. So.
And I think it's important to note, and so for the residents who are watching at home, the picture you see on the screen right now is just a example and not how it's going to look. So it could look way more beautiful. It could look way more differently, but that hasn't been brought to us yet. All we're approving tonight is certain small changes to allow development, a different type of developments to occur.
Okay, so we are, does anyone have any comments to add?
Plenty of comments.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I just don't understand changing the height differential down to 10 feet. We're talking about an urban area. And in an urban context, if you look at downtown LA and you look at the lofts and everything in there, they're all 14 feet easily, minimum. So I just don't see any reason why we would want to change this. Now, if somebody wants to come back to us with a specific plan and present that to us, hey, I'm all ears. I take them as they come. But from my perspective, I don't really see the efficacy in this. This is going to lead to a lack of uniformity of development in the urban zone. With regard to the second section, quite frankly, if you want to take out the words located within medium density neighborhoods, fine with me. I have no objection to that. With regard to section 3, as outlined in the proposed resolution, I really have no problem with changing the depth requirements. I think the depth requirements are fine to change, but I would fine tune this, and I would say specifically, if we're going to change the depth requirement down to 6 feet would only be applicable to balconies. However, with regard to the ground floor, maintain the 8-foot depth minimum. And I think that is certainly something that everyone could live with. With regard to section 4, the width per roadhouse unit, my problem with it is, I think, one, it lends itself to being kind of vague because we're talking about average width. What is the average width really going to look like? From a practical matter, are you looking at maybe a 10-foot garage down the line, to accommodate a larger one? I don't know. Quite frankly, I'd rather see that come to me in a specific plan so I can evaluate that, make sure that the storage and the individual locations of, let's say, the trash cans that have to be inside are going to be evaluated, for example. Make sure that we have enough room to put charging equipment, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things, I think, are considerations that I wouldn't be comfortable waiving at this point in time and just saying, let's just throw that in and do whatever you want. So I think we would leave that as is from my perspective. And then with regard to getting rid of the maximum width and depth for the frontage standards, I think that's just fine. I mean, ultimately, we're keeping the minimums in. If somebody wants to utilize more space, that's perfectly fine with me. I have no objection to that. So I would make a motion in accordance with that. But obviously, I'm open to hearing from anyone else.
But I think we're amending it, but we're not approving a specific design. So when that time comes, if they were to draw something, let's just say ridiculously, that the trash can's out and about or something like that, we could always regulate that and make a recommendation to tell them to how we want to enclose, or if we want trees there. That's something that the Planning Commission will be brought back to us when that time comes, when a developer is developing on there. And I think what they're asking for is just the opportunity to amend the code so they could present the plans needed to share their idea for the future, for a future commission meeting. But what I believe is that we will have if they were to, let's just say this developer has plans that are going to come back and we amend it, then they'll come back and submit plans to the planning department. And at that time, there'll be a plan review, a site review with the site review committee, and then there'll also be at a later time a meeting with the Planning Commission. And at that time, we'll be able to make the recommendations like we do in a site review committee review to make sure that they're in compliance with I'm not pronouncing it right. Forget that word. Making sure that things match and there's, matching with the adjacent housing or the trash cans or certain items. So I think they're asking for just certain amount of feet differential. I don't think it makes a big difference. I think the big decision will come when we actually have plans in front of us for an actual development. And can we bring up sorry.
Let me just interject. That is the exact opposite of what a vote in favor of this would do. You are setting the standards and you are waiving the ability of this planning commission to make a decision on that moving forward. That's what you're doing. So when you say that we're going to have discretion on these things, not so much, not so fast.
So what's the biggest issue you're having? Is the ceiling, the height of the ceiling?
So I went through. I'm happy to go through again. I'm fine. If somebody wants to come to us with a specific plan and says to us, "Hey, we think that this 10-foot ceiling setup is going to look good in the urban zone that we're setting forth, or that's subject to this particular portion of the amendment," and everyone's in agreement with it for a specific plan, I don't see any problem with that.
So can we bring that up?
But we're not talking about it in the context of a specific plan. We're saying, hey, everyone who comes forward, moving forward, 10 feet, that's the standard.
So
nothing more.
So I don't see a cross out in that section. So what's currently the minimum height?
The current minimum height is 12 feet. So it doesn't differentiate between commercial and residential. Basically, 12 feet minimum height.
It's the same thing. Same thing for commercial and residential.
Period. Yes.
But
so
isn't that the hold on? Because I think isn't that a typo?
So we're cutting down.
No, not for this one.
Okay, so it's increasing the commercial to 14 from 12, and then lowering the residential from 12 to 10.
That's correct.
So I don't think it doesn't. It's not displaying it. Next time it should.
And that's the source of I'm sure most people's confusion up here, because I see the proposed ordinance here, and the proposed ordinance doesn't outline that. It basically says that we're keeping a 10-foot minimum standard, which is not what we're doing. In fact, we're lowering it from 12 feet to 10, and we're increasing the height standard from 12 to 14 for commercial use. And unfortunately, that's just not clear in the proposed ordinance that is presented to us in our packet here. So
is that correct?
It would be very misleading.
So is that correct, city staff?
Let me go ahead and check.
Yeah.
Are you looking at ordinance on the second page, section 1?
Correct.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
So I believe that it is, per the diagram there, that it is increasing the commercial mixed use to 14 and lowering the residential development ground floor to 10 feet.
Right.
So right now, residential is what again? 12 feet. So we're actually giving a better chance to a developer who may not be a billionaire and who could develop. Okay.
Right now, residential and commercial are both 12 feet minimum height. See, on the diagram, as you can see, commercial and residential are both underlined. So those are both added into the diagram.
So, okay.
Let me go up and pull up the diagram in the current.
So instead of uniformity, we're going away from that. That's what this does.
So this is the current diagram in the code. So it just says minimum height 12 feet for ground floor, and minimum height for upper floors is 10 feet.
And can you show us the map of the city plan?
Hold on for 1 sec. Can I ask a question? I mean, it seems like we might want to keep the higher height. If that is the case, then I guess the question is, what is the problem or not a problem? Is there a height limit on the building that the developer cannot do? That might be a problem. So we might be fixing a problem instead of tweaking here and there.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I don't think we're fixing a problem because again, this is an urban zone. If you look at downtown LA developments, downtown Pasadena, Century City, you name it, they do not have a 10-foot standard.
I do understand you, Nick, because this is the thing. Let's say that if we have a maximum height of 25 feet for residential area right now, and if the minimum on the bottom floor has to be 12 feet, they can only do 1 story or 2. That's max. That's all they can do. But in their case, since they're building a row home, the first floor will be the garages. So that's 10 feet. The second floor will be the living room and what else is there? Kitchen. That's the second. So that's 20 feet. And then you have to put the bedrooms up on the third floor. That's at least minimum 30 feet. And then you have to add a little roof, 5 feet. So minimum 35 feet. So they might be a problem. I guess we're not understanding what is the problem. Why are we changing all these things? And
I think what I did my research, I think the problem was, for example, here at City Hall, let's just say this room was a house. Right here I have, I'm just making up these numbers right here, just as an example. Let's just say this is 12 feet, but the room next door is 10 feet. So there's a differential in the housing, and I think that allowing the developer the opportunity to keep the design incoherent on different, any developer and their architect can decide how they envision their plans to be, but we don't know what that future holds. We don't know if that's going to.
But it appears our commissioner is okay with a higher height. So if that is the case, and if that is the traditional downtown heights, which might be true, if that is the case, then the developer currently, we also have a limit on them. The maximum height, I believe, in that downtown form is 35 feet or 30 feet. Joanne, did you remember?
For the T4 urban zone, it depends on the type of
for the row house
being proposed. So
they might know the answer since they're asking for this.
If you're looking at the computer right now, I don't know if you can see it clearly. I'll enlarge it. So for a row house building, the maximum height for a 3-story is 40 feet. I'm sorry.
It's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
Even if you had 12 feet, you would still have an additional 4 feet at 3 stories. So that's why I don't really think it makes a lot of sense.
And it also, and I'm sorry, and it also depends on how the distance between the residential, how far it is away from residential. So the building height is 25 feet when you're 50 feet away from residential, and 35 feet when you're 100 feet away from residential. But if you're more than 100 feet away from residential, it'll be 40. So it just depends.
So to some extent, according to Commissioner Lewis, it seems like it's not making a difference, making these changes, if we were to make the changes.
Well, no,
So-
I think it is making a difference. And if we make these changes for
the developer, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
For example, I mean, you know, and it doesn't even have to be, this doesn't even have to be related to a row house. This could be any sort of development. So if, for example, down the line, there was a situation where there needed to be a conversion of certain buildings that are shells. I think that was the word you were looking for earlier. A building shell going from hypothetically residential to commercial. Effectively, you're kind of pigeonholing people into that lower level. So let's just say our downtown becomes more business intense for whatever reason, and down the line we want to allow the redevelopment of that building from a residential standard to a commercial standard. We don't have that uniformity, so we're stuck with having the lower ceiling heights and therefore less room so that you can have drop down ceilings and put more infrastructure in. So that's why I think it's just an idea to sort of cut the corners on it. That's all I see.
But at the same time, I think as a commission, we're just recommending to the city council. So at the end of the day, the city council will make the decision because it's a recommendation from the planning commission. And I think that we should I believe that we should allow this project to move forward because it allows the opportunity to be brought to the city council, and the city council can make the final decision. And with that said, I would like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation of the planning commission to adopt. Sorry, hold on. Where's that? I would like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 21-6076, recommending approval of Code Amendment number 20-08 to the City Council.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second.
I'll make an alternative motion. I would move that we remove from the proposed ordinance section number 1, which would change the minimum height standards. We maintain section 2 as is. We amend section 3 to indicate that the depth can be a 6-foot minimum for second story and above. However, the 8-foot minimum for the first floor would remain in place for depth. I would remove section 4, maintain section 5, and I would also maintain section 6, and that would be my motion.
Now, one question that I have on that cumulative, the area 100 square feet. In the code now, is that 200?
No, in the code it just says 100.
Yeah.
It just says 100. It doesn't explain if it's cumulative. It's just been interpreted as cumulative. So
okay, we should give that option because someone may want to provide.
Well, I think again, the city council has to make the decision. We're just a recommendation body.
But again, we want to be sure that we're not just creating something for one particular developer. And this is what it's starting to do. It's starting to restrict the options the city has. That's the reason why they're asking for these changes.
And I don't think we have the authority to determine.
Not a problem. You made a motion already, Brian.
Yeah, I remain in motion, so
Commissioner
I
Gutierrez.
think we have to go for a roll
Has a
call.
motion.
Sorry.
Can you repeat your motion again?
I have a second by Becerra.
So we have to go for a roll call.
Yeah. Wait, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner,
Go ahead,
this
Ivy.
is your assistant attorney. There was an initial motion made by Commissioner Gutierrez. It was seconded. There was a substitute motion made by Commissioner Lewis. Was there a second to that motion?
Is there a second to the second, Commissioner Lewis? What is your motion again, Commissioner Lewis? Remove
So, my proposed motion would be, give me 1 second, let me flip to the page.
Remove section 1.
Remove section 1.
Keep section
Keep section 2. Amend section 3 to allow for a minimum depth for the second floor and above of 6 feet. However, the 8-foot depth for the first floor should remain. I would remove section 4, maintain section 5, and maintain section 6.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll make a second.
You make a second. So we have one motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Williams.
For clarification,
Sorry.
For clarification, you are voting on the substitute motion first. You are voting on Commissioner Lewis's motion.
Correct. Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Gutierrez.
No.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Becerra. Chair Hang.
Aye.
Okay, so that means the substantive motion passes 3-2.
And then what's going to happen? The developer's going to waste money and appeal to the city council, so it's going to go to the city council no matter what. So that's a really dumb decision.
This item will get forwarded to city council. Okay, non-hearing item. We have no non-hearing items tonight, so we move on to commission reports and comments and miscellaneous items. Okay. But anyone want to talk about commission report? We have a planning.
Yes.
The leak of city. Go ahead. I'm sorry. The leak of, a week or two ago, a couple of our planning commissions had actually attended a Zoom meeting or web meetings from the League of Nations. So we were fortunate. It's been a couple of years since we were able to attend. This year it was great. Commissioner Williams, would you like to add on to what the meeting's a little bit about?
Okay. A couple of the topics that they talked about was about the RENA count, and there was a lot of discussion on what was required for the current cycle for people's housing elements and how to comply and so forth and so on, and the changes in the law. They also did a session where they did a mock planning commission meeting, which was done virtual because of the coronavirus, and actually was very interesting because we had a chance to see how they were discussing whatever item it was and making motions and different things. They also had a session where they talked about the legislative changes that are coming down the pipeline and what they may mean for the individual communities and so forth. Particularly, there were some coastal communities that raised concerns with the Coastal Commission. One of the things that we did learn about the ADUs, quite a few of the cities were pointing out that those units were actually being constructed by individuals who were charging a large sum of money, that it wasn't actually being rented to people who were lower income. And so a lot of the cities raised concerns about that. All in all, it was very informative. It was nice to hear the comments and stuff and see the presentations by the different speakers that they had.
I'd like to add on to that too. It's a really useful meeting for all new commissioner, or even I've been commissioners for a while. I mean, the information was hacked day in and day out for like 2-3 days. So, I mean, one of the things they were talking about that we may not hear as planning commissioner is that they're talking about population increase. I mean, we have approximately 7 billion nowadays, I believe, worldwide. They're estimated by year 2060, it's going to be 10 billion or so in terms of population increase. And also, apparently, in today's term, it seems like, you know, in the urban area, people tend to like to live in the downtown, in the urban environment. We're looking at right now, statistically, they're saying 40% of the people like to live within the city. And they're saying this number, even though as the population increase, more and more people, they're looking at the number at least 60% is or will or want to live within the city area. I guess there's more service, you know, more different type of restaurants, you know, the shows and all that stuff. And it seems like, and that brought us back into or you can say some type of housing issues that we faces on a daily basis. The ADU, one of the things that they were talking about, the arena, that city actually was quite interesting. I believe, I don't know if the number was correct, it was a long day. And they're saying that when this was approved, a lot of cities is very resistant to approving those type of projects, and it never got built. Those little granny flats or what have you, it was never built. And then, as Commissioner Shelby Williams mentioned earlier, there's a lot of state laws that just came out one by one. There were 7 state laws that came out that pushes for housing in the state of California. And I don't remember all the ABs and all the rules and the regulations of the housing, but sure enough, they want and take a lot of that away from, you can say, the rights away from cities. So they're making all units, single residential units in the state of California, if you wish to or want to build, the state of California is practically taking it over and said that you can build those little units. And apparently the numbers, it was interesting because if the residents do not want to build it, obviously there wouldn't be any building if they didn't ask for permit. But it seems like since they opened up for the last 3 years or so, it's 20,000 homes that was requested. So there seems like I wouldn't say a disconnect, but it appears like, you know, I'm not even quite sure how to put this into word, but the state seems to think that the residents wants to be able to build these little units, and they push it until today that they can and they're allowed to build, and the people are building. The people are building. In the past, we don't know why they're not building. Maybe because we're not allowing them to build. So city is making it a lot easier. Another thing is regarding affordable housing, and I thought that was quite interesting as well. If anyone wants to build affordable housing, I mean anyone meaning developer who wants to build affordable housing, I think city also, I don't know all the ins and outs because there's lawyers doing the presentations about all these rules and regulations. And basically they're making it a lot easier also if you want to build affordable housing. You can increase densities, you can build more units, even though if it's within the residential area. However, you kind of have to share it with the state or the county. So if a developer want to build it, they're basically saying, I'm taking a few units for low-income housing. So if the developer, like tonight, wishes to do that, they can actually, you know, and some of the rules and the laws actually tied a lot of cities' hands that we can't really do much except to allow them to build it. In our situation, like tonight, the developers are not interested in building affordable housing. So we don't have to double or increases the unit. However, if they were to ask for that, I don't know, but the city probably have to comply and allow them to build much, much more dense than it was allowed. I find that quite interesting. So there were like 6, I don't know how many rules and regulations that come out to help push the housing. And I don't know. I mean, in the news lately with the pandemic, they're saying that people are moving out of the city. But then in the meetings, the statistics and what have you that they've seen, it seems like more and more people likes to live in the city. So I who knows? Within a couple of years from now, maybe we will see a little bit more clearer picture. But I don't know, we don't know how long the pandemic's going to last and all that stuff. Another thing that they were interesting to talk about housing is the RENA, how we have to, basically California, if I understand it correctly, we have a shortage of close to 500,000 units every year. We are basically population increased by 500,000, and the entire California probably built like 120 units or so. That's how, and then it appears like there is a shortage, and it's been a couple of years now. And with the shortage, it's not helping in that way. So we can't keep up with it, and cannot keep up with it. In some cities, it's like there's not a whole lot of land available nowadays. Just like this developer tonight that came in front of us, it's not like he's building an empty lot. He's knocking down some type of building. Both developer facing us tonight both are in the same situation, knocking up some, a land that maybe have a larger lot and then try to subdivide it and make more units out of it. And interesting, even though that they had the increases in the number, it's kind of hard to catch up when we have so many, needs of housing is definitely there. It seems like the numbers are showing. And just like all portion, the city of West Covina's portion of housing, seems like the state wanted or wish for the city of West Covina to come up with 5,400 homes. 5,400 units, and not sure how we're going to do that. There are certain, like the downtown area where we're talking about it right now, that we had set up a couple of years back, is able to take some of these units off the requirement that the states are asking us to build. So, but overall, I think it's a great opportunity for all the commissioners to be able to attend these meetings, and it's just a huge learning, and they're packed with a lot of materials. A lot of them are presented by lawyers or the legislative, or it's just ex-planning commissioners, city councils, you name it, city managers, city planners. Everyone was doing the presentations. So I think I'm so glad since our city managers are here. Thank you for making it happen. And I've been here for a couple of years, and I think the last time it's only one other time when I first started that I was attending, and after that there was no budget. So this year it was really nice that you were able to somehow carve up to be able to send a few of us to the meeting. And I wish everyone, city manager, if you're listening, I think city staff, and also even hopefully in the futures, commissioners too. Hopefully we can attend. It's wealth of information that we can actually gather from this information. Well, anyway, I have enough. That's it. Thank you. So, does anyone else have comments or would like to make a report? Community Development Director's report, Paulina?
So at the upcoming May 11th meeting, we'll have the tentative track map come back to you guys. Also in May, we're looking at having a joint study session with the Planning Commission and the City Council regarding...
Sorry, what day was that?
We don't have a date yet, sorry. So we're scheduling that in May for the general plan or the housing element update? Housing element update, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So since there's no further business to consider, this meeting is adjourned?
The city council action, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So at the April 6, 2021 City Council meeting, the City Council voted to uphold the Planning Commission's approval of the conditional use permit and subcommittee design review and slight modification for 1208 Hollandcrest Drive. The City Council also approved ordinance number 2480, amending portions of Chapter 26 of the Municipal Code pertaining to accessory dwelling units and junior ADUs. The second hearing is scheduled for the April 20th City Council meeting.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Chair,
Good night.
if I may, there's a second page to the
Yeah.
forthcoming on the back.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. My bad. I think, is it in May 25th, we have the MLC project for the Vincent School Site project that will come before you.
So for this particular project, the mitigated neg deck document and also the initial study and mitigated neg deck document has been posted online. I'll go ahead and email the Planning Commission the link to this so that you may look at it ahead of time. And the notice of public hearing would be sent out prior to, I would notice it 20 days prior to the 25th. The reorganization, Paulina.
Oh, which is May what?
25th.
May 25th, we will also be doing a rotation of the commissioners. So we will do an election for the vice chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.